Yes, indeedy. George W. Bush was a spendaholic. Not happy with that at all. But what makes Mr. Obama even better to triple down on it? Whatever happened to pay as you go? That's why the people are pissed, because we've all had to cut back. While Congress is not only not cutting back, they're increasing spending and giving themselves raises when they're not even doing their damn job and frequently taking vacations. Both parties are at fault for this. I went crazy when the Republicans took month-long vacations. And I go just as nuts when the Democrats are taking frequent vacations when many of us Americans haven't taken a vacation in years. Not cool, Democrats. The truth is the Democrats have been in power in Congress for the past 4 years. No, not the last 2 years, the past 4 years. Now, yes, it is true that only for the last year and a half to two that we've had a Democrat in the White House. But if you think about it, Congress does have a lot of power. The president, is very simple. He proposes legislation to Congress. I love hearing from all these people saying, well, why hasn't Obama fixed the economy yet? Well, it's not a one-man show. Not one person. It's not like Obama presses a magic button and the economy's good. Nor did George Bush press a button and made the economy go all bad. Now, of course, Obama's approval rating is low. Why? Well, that one's very simple. He overpromised and underdelivered. When you overpromise and underdeliver, this happens. I remember 6 years ago I asked a politician when he was running, so, what are you promising? And the guy just straight up said this, I'm promising nothing. I'm promising I'll just show up to work and see what comes up. At first I thought, what kind of politician does that? It doesn't promise anything. But you know what? He was ahead. That was a smart thinker. And what did Obama necessarily promise? Because I remember in '08 he was too generic. Now before I make my predictions of the 2010 midterm election, I want you to know I'm trying my best not to be biased, but I do want to brag a little bit. I'm pretty good at predicting some of these stuff. In fact, the only two elections I really didn't know for sure was going to happen was the 2001 and the '04 one. However, I will say this, I've been pretty good lately. In 2006, I knew in February of '06 that the Republicans were going to lose either the House and the Senate, or one, and I was right. I knew in February because they didn't get any, after the 2004 election, they didn't get any work done. They kept spending a whole lot, and then one scandal after another, especially after being there for 12 years. I knew Obama pretty much had the 2008 election locked in September. The day the Dow Jones took a diarrhea dump on September 18th, I said, yeah, Obama's got this one. McCain can do nothing to save himself. People are going to demand change. Now we are here in 2010, and the people are still demanding change. Now, if you really think about it, the people have always demanded this. In 2006, they kicked out the old Republican guard out, all the Republican bums that have been there since '94, who got a little too comfortable and got a little corrupt. In 2008, they switched parties in the White House. But that tsunami of anger continues to 2010. Now it's the Democrats' turn to get a swatting and a little spanking, which of course Barney Frank would actually like. And again, my advice to the voters is simply this. Stay mad. I want this anti-incumbent sentiment to continue in 2012. Now, why is there anti-incumbent sentiment? Why? Because I think people finally realized the following. Now, this is old data I'm working on, but I know this for a fact. In 2004, were you aware that 82% of congressmen and senators were re-elected? 82%. 4 out of 5 politicians in Washington are constantly re-elected. And you're wondering why there's so much corruption. You're wondering why they stay there for so long. There's also this. You think that's bad? Sitting down for this? 1 out of 3 politicians usually run unopposed. Unopposed! closed. That's a pseudo-dictatorship. No! There should always be somebody running up against them. And where are the third parties? This year, not so much. This year has been one hell of an unprecedented election year. The primaries have just been whammoed. Democrats and Republicans left and right have been losing their primaries. Sitting senators, not once, not twice, but 3 sitting senators got kicked out, lost the primaries, let alone the generals. In the state of Nevada, the sitting governor lost the primary. Not the general, the primary. First time that has ever happened in Nevada history. For a sitting governor to lose the primary. How bad do you suck at your job to lose the primary, where even your party tells you to GTFO? We need term limits. How about 12 years for the House, 12 years for the Senate? And now, without further ado, my 2010 midterm election predictions. Now again, I'm not trying not to be biased. I predicted the Democrats were going to win in 06. I predicted Obama was going to win by September of 08. And this time, and I pretty much predicted this a month ago, the Republicans definitely win the House. My number, 64 or 65 seats in the House. And I think the Senate's in play. Yes, you heard me. I'm crazy. They all say the Senate's not in play. I say it's in play. But first, let me tell you why 64, 65, maybe even 70. There's 112 vulnerable seats in the House, according to the New York Times. The New York Times, not Fox News, not MSNBC, not Newsmax, not Rasmussen, the New York Times. 112 vulnerable House seats. If the Republicans lose half of those, they'd get almost 60. They would get 55. If the Republicans lost half of those, they get 55 to 60. Yeah, Dems, you're screwed. That's how screwed you are. If the Republicans lose half of the vulnerable seats that are up, they still take the House by 50. And they just need 39. In fact, they could lose 2/3 of those vulnerable seats and still take the House by 39. That is why people are saying that they're screwed in the House. Now, let's move on to the Senate. There are 19 vulnerable Senate seats. The Republicans need 10 gains, and they have to hold on to their current seats, which is pretty much a straight flush. Now, I'm going to go in order from east to west. New Hampshire. Republicans to keep this seat with Judd Gregg. However, I'm going to make 2 predictions on the side for the House. Republicans to gain a House seat, New Hampshire 1. However, Democrats to gain a seat 2. Why? The Blue Dog Democrat lost the primary. So the more progressive liberal Democrat will win that seat since it borders with Vermont. So you get fresh faces all around in New Hampshire. And I've been to New Hampshire. It's tiny. I swear, we went from Massachusetts to Maine. It was like this big, size of a chicken strip. Could have walked across the whole state. Connecticut. Attention all you wrestling fans out there. Do you know a woman by the name of McMullen who has a lot to do with the WWE wrestling? She helped start the wrestling craze. Man, I would have loved to have seen those debates. Taxes are too high. No, taxes aren't high enough. Ugh. Yeah, well, WWE wrestling fans, please don't kill me. I'm calling Connecticut for the Democrats. Look, it's Connecticut. The state's so blue, it's probably illegal to bleed red. And the last time they had a Senate race, the Republican who ran in Connecticut got 10%. 10%? That's not an election. That's how much you tip a bad waitress. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama are all keeps for Republicans. No changes there, no biggie. Florida. This is a really interesting one. 1 month ago, I would have called this one for Christ. But you know what? Well, the polls showed otherwise. But I would have called it for him for this reason. Florida is a very independent state. Why? Well, it voted for Bush in 04, but it voted for Obama in 08. And it voted for both Bush and Gore in 2000. This state is bi. How ironic for a state that looks like a flaccid pea. Never mind. South Florida is very liberal. Miami, girls gone wild town. While northern Florida, the Panhandle, next to Alabama and so on, is a hardcore conservative Republican district. Which brings us to the central state. Orlando, home of tourism. This is where you'll have your moderates and your so on. Which is why I thought Chris had a real shot. Another independent in the Senate. Unfortunately, Rubio has just really taken off in this three-way. Not to mention there was some trouble with Meek, so I'm calling this one for Rubio. But that's just a keeper. Then we come to Louisiana. Hey, Warknet. Hi, Warknet. Feel free to vid response to this. I want to talk about this for just a minute. Democrats, you went all after Christine O'Donnell, right? You wasted your time. You should have gone after Vider. Why? Well, if it weren't for a certain Idaho senator, he would have been the #1 sex scandal story of '07. Senator Vider got caught in a huge sex scandal. He was caught in a threesome with some prostitutes in 2007. The only reason why I didn't hear about it is because another Republican senator got an even stranger sex scandal. And that would be Mr. Larry Craig, the famous toilet stall incident. Senator Vider was in a threesome. A threesome. Bill Clinton must really be thinking to himself right now, a threesome. A threesome. Damn, baby, why not think of that? If I'm going to cheat on Hillary, I should have done a threesome. That's the way you do it. He's a fiscal conservative. He figures, why pay for one prostitute when I could pay two for the price of one? Being a fiscal conservative. He was in a slightly tough race, but the polls show him ahead. And Dems, had you gone after him, you would have picked up a seat. Nope. I'm going to go ahead and call Vider, but I doubt he'll win another one. While on that note, I will predict that the Democrats will pick up a House seat in New Orleans with Joseph Cowell. That's his name. I hope I'm getting that right. He replaced the corrupt Democratic senator by the name of Jefferson. Unfortunately, he's showing himself behind in the polls, so I'm predicting the Democrats will pick up a New Orleans House seat in Louisiana. And now we move on to the creme de la creme, the big one. The one everybody's talking about. Delaware. Christine O'Donnell versus Chris Coons. Yeah, the lady who talked about masturbation, who said that she was against masturbation. What can I possibly add to Christine O'Donnell that Jay Leno, David Letterman, Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, and so on hasn't already said? Plenty. Well, sweetheart, you're against masturbation, huh? You lost the otaku vote.